Good evening and welcome to East Devon District Council's Cabinet meeting for the 3rd of September 2025. I'm your chair, Councillor Paul Arnott, and welcome to anyone watching the meeting via live streaming. We'll now ask Amanda to do a roll call of committee members here present, declaring interest as you go, please.
Thank you, Chair. And if you can also give any declarations, please, councillors, if you have any. Starting with yourself, Chair, Councillor Arnott.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm present, and for agenda item 15, LGR and devolution update, I will leave the chamber as I'm a county councillor involved in devolution at that place as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Loudon.
Present and no declarations. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. Councillor Hawkins.
Present and no declarations. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hayward.
Present and an effects NRI as an elected Devon County Councillor. Thank you.
For item...
for item 15, please.
Thank you. Councillor Hookway.
Present and an effects NRI for agenda item 15 as I'm a Devon County Councillor.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Present, nothing for me.
Thank you. Councillor Jeffries.
Hi. May I make a declaration that I'm a county councillor for item 15, and as I'm part of cabinet, I'll be stepping out of the room. Thank you.
Sorry, councillor, was that 2 declarations or just the one?
Just the one.
Thank you. Same as Paul's. Yeah. Councillor Young has sent his apologies. Councillor Ledger.
I'm present and I've got no declarations. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, Dan. Councillor Olive.
Present and no declarations. Thank you.
Are there any other councillors in the room that have any declarations they wish to declare at this time? Councillor Gazzard.
Thank you, Amanda. Yes, can I declare an effects NRI for item 20? Because two of the developments are in my ward, so I've got an interest in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors? No. Okay, back to you, Chair.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Amanda. Our next item, no, I'll do this before the next item of the minutes. So this is very sad, extraordinary announcement. I know you've all received emails from the chair about this, but we've lost Councillor Andrew Toy in the last week, who passed away. And I thought we should say something and observe something tonight, because the next full council where we would normally do this is not for some time, and it seems appropriate. And I just wondered if there were any members who may have a particular fondness, acquaintanceships for him from Exmouth, who might like to say a couple of words about, or as many words as they wish about Andrew. Councillor Gazzard and then Councillor Dumper. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, sorry. I've known Andrew for 22 years, and as long as I can recall, he's always been either a town councillor or a district councillor. And Andrew was very quiet and kept himself to himself. But if when he put his hand up to say something, it was always very pertinent to whatever item was on the agenda. And he was very involved with town council and here on the committees that he was on. It's a sad day for Exmouth. It's a very sad day for his family. And we will all miss him. But on a brighter note, Andrew was, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, was a very good dancer. When we used to finish our town council meetings, we would go down to the local hostelry and have a glass of lemonade. And then we used to have music nights there as well. And you could often see Andrew dancing around with young women or elderly women. And he was extremely light on his feet. So, I mean, it's true what they say, that larger people are lighter on their feet. So I'm going to try and put some weight on so I can get around easier. But no, on a serious note, he was a lovely young man. He worked for DEFRA. He had a big road play in that. And we will miss him. And he's going to be hard to replace. But thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Steve, very much. Tim, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Yes, this is going to sound bad, but I've probably known Andrew for 30 years or more. The other thing that Andrew did and was very keen on was his politics on a national and international basis. And he and I both went to Lib Dem conferences over quite a number of years together. So I had the opportunity to get to know Andrew on a deeper basis and understand where he was coming from. Andy, of course, came from a family where his father, Brian, had been on and off a district councillor since, I think, 1986. And it's a great shame now that Brian has actually been in hospital himself recently, having achieved the great age of 90. So I would send kind thoughts to, and I hope we all will, to his parents, to Brian and Marilyn, in their sad times now, and to say, yes, Andrew contributed an awful lot on a quiet basis. And, because a lot of people have said, well, he was very quiet. But when you got to know him, as Steve has said, he would say relevant and apposite things at the right time. And it must have been sad for him as a dancer, as you say, Steve, when he himself got ulcerated legs some time back and also had a bad hip. So his dancing days were, as it turned out, over. Anyway, R.I.P. Andy, we'll miss you greatly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim, for that as well. Councillor Roy Collins, please.
Thank you, Chair. When I was first elected here just over 2 years ago, we had a lot of training meetings in this room, and Andrew used to talk to me and he befriended me. He was very kind, and I still do. I go to the Railway Club, the Great Western Railway Club in Exmouth, and Andrew would come in and we would split ladies up. 2 ladies might be dancing together. I would take one and he would take one, and we were dancing. And the last time we done this was at Rock and Row at the 29th of June. And he did enjoy a few pints of lager, not water. And in the interval, he would talk about the forthcoming meetings here. And he'd researched and he knew a lot about what was going to be on the agenda, and he would ask my opinions and we would discuss the meetings. This was always on a Saturday night. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do now when I go to the Railway Club, because he's going to be gone. But it's very sad, because he's really young, isn't he? And I think he was a lovely man.
That's lovely, Roy. Thank you so much for that. It's lovely to have these personal memories from everywhere as well. Nick, Councillor Hookway, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I can't really add very much to what's been said in terms of his political life. He certainly was very helpful to me when I was elected in 2019. I was always struck by his commitment and his dedication. But I just wanted to say that Andy was through and through an Exmouth boy, born and bred, and one of his great loves, one of his great affiliations was with the Sea Scouts. He was with he was a Sea Scout. He maintained connections with the Sea Scouts, and the present master of the Sea Scouts, I phoned and told the news, and he was very upset. And from that perspective, Andy will be very sorely missed. So again, Andy, rest in peace. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nick, very much. So I'm sure Eleanor and the chair will, next time we meet, do a more formal minute silence. The flag is flying half-mast outside as well. So thank you, members, for all of that, and God bless you, Andrew. Right, we now move on to agenda item 1, the minutes of the previous meeting. Does anybody have any comments on those minutes, or may I sign them as an accurate record? No, thank you very much, in which case I shall sign these. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I think that's the right page, isn't it? I think that's probably the right page. Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item 2 is apologies. We've heard Councillor Jeff Young-Aurora and Brian Bailey. Anybody else we know of, Amanda?
Councillor Marianne Rickson.
Marianne Rickson. Nick, please.
Councillor Matt Hall sends his apologies as well.
Okay, thank you. And Anne as well, I think. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Thank you very much. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. We've done that. Agenda item 4, we can hear from Ainsley Jones, the Cranbrook Community Hub Manager, to speak on EX5 Alive CIC based in Cranbrook. Ainsley, do come on up. Lovely to see you again. And you'll have 3 minutes from when you start, as you know. So in your own time.
I'd just like to thank everyone for having us. As many of you will know, EX5 Alive is the only dedicated provision in Cranbrook for a wide range of essential services. Sadly, we have been unsuccessful in capturing follow-on funding from the National Lottery to continue the progress we have made over the past year. Our community has already suffered a devastating loss of support with the end of funding from a community builder, a community connector, and a mental health nurse. The lack of funding from the National Lottery puts EX5 Alive in a precarious position currently. In Cranbrook, a significant proportion of our population is under the age of 24, 42.2%, with a particularly high number of families with children, which is why the services we provide are so critical. The lack of adequate amenities and services disproportionately affects these young families and their children, leading to issues of isolation and lack of support. Without sufficient community services, the community of Cranbrook are at a risk of losing targeted support for vulnerable families. Our hub provides critical support, including emergency food parcels, child asylum seeking support, critical signposting, single session support, and school attendance assistance. This support is vital for families struggling with poverty and other complex needs, many of whom have nowhere else to turn. A safe community space. We provide one of the only accessible, welcoming space for community gatherings, activities, and events run by the community-led EX5 Alive CIC. Our hub is a place where residents can connect, build relationships, and find a sense of belonging in a town that can feel isolated and disconnected. Continued access to essential services. We act as a central point for access to a network of support, signposting residents to partner organisations like health visitors, community mental health teams, asylum seekers, Cranbrook medical teams, Cranbrook Medical Practice, Family Hub, Early Help, Food Hub, Debt Relief, Family Intervention, and Mediation for Early Help. Team Around the Family and Hotel, providing crucial data to statutory groups and a 100+ strong network of stakeholders, including community groups. The Hub is a one-stop shop that simplifies a complex web of services for those who need them most. Provision for disenfranchised youth. A lack of facilities and services for young people in Cranbrook is leading to social isolation and disenfranchisement. We provide a positive space, support for families, for activities to engage youth in connecting groups, schools and interested parties, while helping to prevent the further spread of social problems. We support the asylum-seeking children at the hotel, where both EDDC and DCC contribute to funding, where the role is critical to all services. In addition to direct delivery, EX5 Alive sits on the following to advocate or works closely with: Community Mental Health Team, Asylum Seeking Steering Group, Cranbrook Safety Partnership Group, Move More Steering Group, Live and Move Steering Group, Move More Grants Panel, Team Around the Hotel, Early Help, County-wide and Exeter and East Devon locality partnership meetings, Asylum Seeking and Refugee Adult Mental Health Devon-wide Steering Group, Child in Need, Child in Care meetings, Community Health Visitor Support for Critical Signposting, EDDC Resettlement Team, Funding Applications for the Community, Bridging Team and DCC, Cranbrook Medical Practice Community Support. Big list, hey? We have support from the Children's Commissioner, are cited in the South West Mobility Commission and in a government paper, Cracks in Our Foundation, as a case study for community cohesion, and still we are in a position of finding finances year on year for basic services for Cranbrook community, which should be a given. A report by EX5 Alive has outlined the impact within the community with potential savings and preventions of near £1 million, but only will we see the true impact once we are no longer there. There is no measure for trust.
Ainsley, could you come to a conclusion? Thank you.
Yesterday's devastating news in Cranbrook, alongside the tensions at the hotel, have impacted and highlighted how fragile the Cranbrook community has become and the lack of services. Unlike other towns in East Devon, there are no established mechanisms to advocate for our children. The rising racial tension across the country is now having a major effect on our communities and mental health due to the escalating protesting and direct racism within our communities. We have a potential Southport waiting to happen by organised networks of racism across the West Country. And after working in various committees and steering groups, we are unprepared. So these services we provide are not a luxury, and we would like Cabinet to think of solutions and work with us so that we can continue to provide services for Cranbrook. Thank you.
Ainsley, thank you so much for that. And a lot of us are very aware of your work. There'll be a number of people tempted to want to speak at this stage, I suppose. I've got Councillor, anybody want to add anything to that? Okay, that's been heard. Have you made any representations to any of our officers yet about trying to find support? Okay. I'm so tempted to say something about the airport hotel, but I'm not going to. Dan.
Thanks very much, Chair. Just to say that I'll happily liaise with Leslie and the rest of the group to see what help that we can provide, if any.
Thank you, Dan. Andy Wood, please.
Thank you, Chair. So just to say there will be a report coming to the next Cabinet meeting that picks up, and you'll see from the minutes of the Cranbrook placemaking group meetings as well, around some of the roles that have been mentioned. Absolutely, there's a concern around the hub going forward. It's quite a complex landscape, if I was being completely frank. If I was being really honest, I find it more difficult and more complex than the LGR, the Local Government Reorganisation paper that's further on the agenda, around navigating certain aspects around wellbeing Cranbrook, social prescribing, physical activity in the relationship with the Sporting England pilot, and also around kind of social cohesion and some of the different focus around the very young demographic as well. And we need to make sense of that and see what we can bring back, Chair.
I suppose I'm wondering whether there's a county perspective on this too, a policing perspective, all sorts of things. I'm just so close to saying something about the hotel.
Move on, Chair. Move on.
They're begging me not to. Tim.
Can I just say that from my point of view, if there is anything I can do to support Cranbrook, then I most certainly will, and I will encourage other councillors to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. That's lovely. Okay, thanks, Ainsley and team. Good to see you all here. Thank you very much. Thank you for all you do. Agenda item 5, matters of urgency. There is one matter of urgency listed under agenda item 16, the naming of East Devon's second new community. So, they're coming up soon. Agenda item 6, confidential or exempt items, and we have 3 to be dealt with listed at agenda items 20 and 22. Agenda item 7, the minutes of the Cranbrook Placemaking Group of the 9th of June 2025. Anybody wish to make any particular recommendations or comments on this item, or can we move forward without specific recommendations? Thank you. Those move forward. Agenda item 8, the minutes of the same group on the 4th of August 2025. Same question applies, please. Thank you very much. Agenda item 9, the minutes of the Overview Committee on the 17th of July 2025. Cabinet recommendations are listed on page 24. Do members wish to make any particular recommendations on this item, or can we move forward without specific recommendations? Councillor Gazard, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a question, if I may, to Simon Davey. At the meeting, and it's not, I can't see it recorded in the minutes, there was reference made to that there was a difference of opinion between how much the work was going to cost to be done, and that there would be, like a review undertaken on the costings. Has that been done, or is it still in hand? Because what I don't want to happen, Chair, is that we don't move forward and get the motorhomes place done. Thank you.
The answer is I don't know, Councillor. I will check. I don't believe it's holding things up, but I will take that forward and make sure it's not holding things up.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks, Steve. In which case, other than that comment, yes, so we move forward without any specific recommendations. Agenda item 10, minutes of Recycling Waste Partnership Board, 30th of July 25. Recommendations are listed on page 30. Anybody wish to make any particular recommendations, or can we move forward without any more? No, good, thank you very much. Agenda item 11, the minutes of the Housing Review Board, held on the 31st of July 2025. Recommendations are listed on page 35 and 36. Do we wish to make any particular recommendations, or can we agree to move forward without specific recommendations? Good, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so let's go back. Can we go back to agenda item 9, please? And Cabinet, can we take a vote on agenda item 9? All those in favour, please? Thank you very much. Go back to agenda item 10. All those in favour, please? Agenda item 11, Cabinet recommendations. All those in favour, please? Thank you very much. We now go to agenda item 12, the Household Support Fund. And we've got a presentation by Sharon Church, our Benefits and Financial Resilience Manager. Sharon, please. Sharon, do you want to come up here to one of the luxury seats?
Sharon.
The only thing is, Sharon is going to be labelled Councillor Simon. Oh no, if you put your card there, it should work. Oh, Mr. Sam. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Let me introduce Simon Davey, posing as Sharon Church tonight.
Okay, thank you. So this report is for
I think you need to shuffle into frame this way a bit more. Simon, if you come to your right, please.
Is that better?
Why is he following me? Well with us.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Chair, sorry. So this report is for the 7th round of Household Support Fund and covers the period the 1st of April 25 to 31st of March 26. We received the funding agreement from Devon County later this year due to the county elections and their cabinet meeting not being until June. But we had some leftover funding available from other sources, so we were able to continue accepting applications and providing financial support for residents in the meantime. The key points from the report I'd like to draw attention to is that we have less funding available this year, and we have to have funds available until the end of March. Recently, we've been receiving better data from the DWP regarding household incomes. However, that's meant that we've been able to identify a lot more households in the groups that we've previously helped. As our pensionable age households, residents, with an income of less than 35,000 per annum, will be receiving the winter fuel allowance this year. We have targeted support at working age residents. We've also recently introduced the Vulnerable Debt Toolkit and benefits and revenues. So we've looked to make an award to those households who have less income than the amounts the standard financial statement suggests a household need to live on each month, which is 3,231 households of our lowest income working age households who will receive £120. And those households include those where there's a person disabled, carer, previous serving member of the armed forces or a child present. And of course, anyone who hasn't received a targeted payment will still be able to apply through our open applications, and we will continue to work with our partners and our comms teams to make sure that as many residents as possible know the funds is available. And if Cabinet agrees to our recommendations, then we'll have payments issued within the next couple of months at the latest. And that ties in with our previous schemes where the second half of the financial year is when our residents need the support the most. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon, very much for that. Would anybody from outside of Cabinet please wish to speak on that or make any comments? No, thank you very much. Cabinet, anybody like to say anything about what Sharon has just said? No, in which case it's clear enough. So let's go to a vote. You've seen the recommendations. Oh, sorry? Oh, I'm proposing it from the chair. Just bide your time, Councillor Olive. Proposing from the chair, all those in favour, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. You may return to the cheap seats. Yep. Thank you. You're catching on. Agenda item 13, the Housing Revenue Account Business Plan update. And we're going to hear from Liam Redding, our Assistant Director for Programmes, Investment and Development. I hope his mic works.
Thank you, Chair. So this report provides an update on the business plan review undertaken with support from Savills to establish a 30-year business plan for the Housing Revenue Account. So the starting point for the review was to build a base financial model of our current position. So that's our current budget with the investment needs of the stock, and then projecting this forward 30 years, taking account of various factors such as rent increases and inflation. So this base model allows us to determine the long-term financial sustainability of the HRA. If I can draw your attention to graph 1 at point 11 of the report. So the black line is our debt capacity, so how much we're able to borrow on a prudential basis. And the red line is the level of borrowing required to maintain our stock. So quite clearly, on the current budget basis, our debt would be significantly above capacity. If you then go to the following graph at point 12, this is our revenue reserve position. And what this shows is what happens to our reserve with debt repayment. So quite clearly, you can see that the position turns negative in around about 10 years' time. So what this base model is telling us is that the current HRA position is unsustainable. So in order to move the HRA to a longer term sustainable position, we need to reduce borrowing or reduce revenue expenditure, or a combination of both. So the next stage of the modelling process was to establish what level of savings or efficiencies would be required to move the HRA to a sustainable position. And this arrived at a figure of 15% savings on the revenue budget. So these would be savings on responsive repairs and maintenance, and also management and supervision, which are the main areas of expenditure within the revenue side. On repairs and maintenance, if we're to achieve savings, this is probably the easier of the two areas. We are proposing a significant capital investment in our stock, so new kitchens, new bathrooms, doors, windows, etc. So that significant investment will reduce the need for responsive maintenance over the next few years. Savings on management and supervision are slightly more challenging. The majority of management and supervision costs are staffing, but there are other elements within that cost, so decant cost, day-to-day operational expenditure, etc. So in order to deliver the required savings, we have developed an efficiency plan which has identified a number of potential savings within the revenue side, and also opportunities to increase income, which is a key part of the overall equation. So one point that's quite important to mention is that a key principle of any efficiencies will be that service delivery is maintained or enhanced. And that could be through changing how we deliver our services, through AI integration, and just generally more efficient ways of working. In terms of phasing of the 15% reduction, that would be over a 5-year period, so a 2.5% saving for 4 years, with a 5% saving in year 5. And that larger 5% saving is attributed to potential savings arising from LGR. Obviously, if LGR doesn't proceed as anticipated, then we would need to kind of review the position. So turning back to the financial model, with a 15% revenue reduction plugged back in, we do reach a long-term sustainable position, which is shown in the 2 graphs at point 18 of the report. So as you can see, debt remains within prudential capacity, and the revenue reserve position remains positive during the course of the plan. So what we're presenting today is the output of the financial modelling, and that will form the basis for the business plan moving forward. So in simple terms, I mean, what's required is a very significant capital investment in stock, but with efficiencies in how we operate as a business in order to fund that significant investment. Just a few other points to mention. Part of the review was to look at alternative approaches to managing the stock. The obvious option being a stock transfer away from the council to another provider. The conclusion of our work with Savills was that this wasn't a viable option. Stock transfer was viable 20, 30 years ago, but doesn't practically work in today's environment. So that option has been discounted. Another element of the review was looking at how we approach development and estate regeneration. Obviously, the right to buy reduces our stock year on year, so it's important to maintain stock levels, but also to effectively use our assets and provide housing opportunities for our residents. So the question is, how do we balance our development and estate regeneration aspirations with maintaining our stock? And the answer is that we see these as 2 separate activities. So we've modelled our development aspirations on the basis that they have a neutral or a positive impact on the revenue account. So they don't detract from our ability to invest in the existing stock. So I won't say any more about development because we're coming on to that later on in the agenda. Moving on to the next steps, what we've got so far is the financial model. This will form the basis of the business plan moving forward, which we'll present to members later on in the year. Just one final point to mention, that the financial model and the business plan they're essentially long-term forecasts, and they're based on a number of variables. So rent increases, inflation, and things that are outside of the council's control. So a change in those could fundamentally change the business plan. So it's going to be key to ensure that we review the business plan on an annual basis to reflect any changes in kind of the national picture, so changes in interest rates, etc. And I'll leave it there, Chair, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Liam, very much indeed for that extensive report. Can I ask for anybody from outside of Cabinet, please, first, who'd like to make any comments? Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, it's good to finally get this through. It's taken some time to get here, and I realise there's an awful lot of work gone into it. 2.5% savings doesn't sound very much, but that's £500,000 a year you've got to save. And if you're not saving it off the management, you're going to be trying to save it off the repairs and the renewals. And I understand that the idea is to sell off some of the worst performing houses so that we have newer ones that come on that should be cheaper to run, but they still need to be financed. I haven't seen the reason why we can't sell off bits of it to a housing association. I understand you've been told that isn't possible or practical, but because of debt. But again, the debt that we have with the amount of houses we have, again, that doesn't quite add up to me. I just obviously have to trust our expert officers in what they're saying, but this is a big ask. And if you're not making redundancies in the management side, then at the end of the day, I will be very interested to see how you're going to do it, especially when you're taking on more staff at the moment to start dealing with some of the problems and the backlog that we have. And again, we have got a very, we've got to put new bathrooms in, new kitchens in. They were promised when we borrowed the money previously. They haven't happened at the moment because of time delays and other reasons. But these are big things that you're going to be promising. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Anybody else from outside of Cabinet? Anybody from inside Cabinet at all? Councillor Hawkins, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify the 2.5% saving year on year. How often is that in year being reviewed, just to make sure that we don't get to the end of the year and find we've got 1 week to save for that year? And just to understand what inflation assumptions have been used in the plan, please.
Okay, any other questions before I throw back to Liam, please? Okay, Liam, please.
Thank you, Chair. The budget savings will be monitored on a monthly basis. With regard to the inflation assumptions, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it aligns with the council's assumptions on inflation.
Okay, anybody else? No? Okay, thank you very much. In which case we need to take a vote on this. Let me just check that's correct. Yes, we do.
Proposer.
We do need a proposer.
Maybe a seconder.
Let's go for the proposer first. Anybody like to propose this? Councillor Ledger. Councillor Jeffries seconding. Thank you very much indeed. All those in favour, please. Thank you. Thank you, Liam. See you in Part B on the other side. Right, we now go to agenda item 14, the Devon Local Nature Recovery Strategy Public Consultation, presented by Sarah Jennings, our Devon County ecologist.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Sarah Jennings, the County Ecologist at Devon County Council. So I have 5 minutes, I think, to talk to you about the local nature recovery strategy. I could talk to you for weeks and weeks about the local nature recovery strategy.
So the best thing anybody ever told me is the less you say, the more they like you. So make it a great 5 minutes.
Super short. Okay, so for people who don't know, the nature strategy is a requirement of the Environment Act. So it's a statutory requirement. They are being produced across England, so it's not just in Devon, it's county-wide. They're funded by DEFRA, so this has all come from the Environment Act. DEFRA is funding them. DEFRA has produced lots and lots of guidance notes to let us know how to do this. And DEFRA also appointed responsible authorities who are responsible for producing the local nature recovery strategies. So DCC was appointed as the responsible authority. But we have to work in collaboration with lots of organisations, so including supporting authorities. And East Devon District Council, along with all other Devon local authorities, Natural England and the national parks are the supporting authorities for the LNRS. And supporting authorities have to have regard to them under the legislation. And you also, we have to consult you before we go out to public consultation. So we have a draft of the nature strategy produced, and we now are giving all the supporting authorities 28 days to tell us whether you object to us going out to public consultation or not. We ideally need to get this finished by December because DEFRA have finally announced that we will get some delivery funding, not millions and millions to deliver on the ground, but enough money to carry on coordinating this and do some delivery. And so we need to get it finished by Christmas to get that funding. We want to go out to public consultation in October. So you will have seen the draft strategy, hopefully. And basically it sets out what we most need to do to restore nature across Devon. So what we have to do is set out a description, opportunities, pressures, priorities for what we want to do and the actions for achieving those priorities. And critically, we have to map them as well. So, and it all has to be very user-friendly. So we don't want this to be a very wordy document that sits on a shelf and no one ever looks at. It's really important that everybody feels that they know what to do to help to restore nature in Devon. So we have produced it as its own website, which I know is not standard practice, but we're hoping that makes it more user-friendly, and it has a mapping viewer sitting alongside it. And it is all about habitats and species, basically, but it's also about wider benefits, so how restoring nature can also help with reducing flood risk, with helping restore water quality, and importantly, connecting people and nature and the health and well-being benefits of contact with wildlife. So we've involved a lot of people. Will has been involved. We've had a supporting authorities officers group, so Will and James Chubb have been on that and involved. And we have involved lots and lots and lots of experts across the county. I've set up a lot of contracts with experts who are also involved in the Devon Mammals Group, the Devon Bat Group, the Devon Bird Group. We have a lot of experts and community interest in wildlife across the county. So we have also, through the Local Nature Partnership, been involving the Naturally Healthy group as well, the Community for Action Network for Wildlife, the Network for Environmental Educators in Devon, so lots of teachers and outdoor learning experts who are all really excited by this and how they can use it, and a farming steering group as well. So involving farmers has been critical in developing it. And the whole purpose is that it will help everyone know what to do to restore wildlife, so voluntary effort, but also funding streams. So it will help to influence future agri-environment schemes, heritage lottery, biodiversity net gain, local plans, but it is very much, as I said, about opportunities, not about restrictions. So that's a bit of an overview.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. It's very good to hear of cross-council working as well on this as on so many other things. And just the sort of asterisk there, this is something we're going to need to conserve as we get through LGR. It's really important not to let this fantastic work suffer from any form of reorganisation. Anybody from outside Cabinet like to? Yes, Peter Flea, Councillor Faithful, and then Councillor Dumper.
Is this primarily Devon County Council body you're working from, or is it independent of all of that?
Shall I answer that now? So Devon County Council was appointed as the responsible authority, but all the DEFRA guidance is very clear that we had to work in collaboration, which is why we've been working with lots and lots of different partnerships, organisations, experts, and the supporting authorities, so the other local authorities, National Parks, Natural England, Environment Agency, Forestry Commission. So it isn't for Devon County Council to deliver this, it is for everybody to be delivering it. We've just been convening, pulling all of this information together.
Thanks, Sarah. Councillor, oh, sorry, Peter, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, just say that I've had a group meeting on Saturday about Himalayan balsam bashing. There's a whole group of groups. So are you the right person for us to get in contact with to get support, like financial or any other support?
So I don't, unfortunately, have a magic pot of money to help with delivery across the county. So this is helping to influence that. But invasive species are part of the local nature recovery strategy. So there's a section on that. And there's I don't know if you've been involved, there's a Devon invasive species initiative which brings together everyone to discuss it. So I could take that to them and see if they know of any funding streams.
Thanks,
So
Sarah.
get in
So,
touch.
yeah, Peter, if you maybe email Sarah, that's great. Councillor Dumper, please.
Yes, thank you, Paul. Yes, a couple of questions for Sarah. I'm assuming that you've been in contact with the National Landscape, because we have two national landscapes within East Devon, the East Devon one and the Blackdown one. But I also particularly wanted to ask you about your involvement in your work of parish and town councils, because many of us have quite extensive operations actually in terms of our work with local nature, and I wondered how far you were looking at that and involving us as you go along.
So Protected Landscapes, absolutely, we work really closely with them. So I have been keeping them updated as we go along. They obviously produce, they've got the Colchester Declaration where they have to produce their own nature plans, and so, which is fantastic. And I recently had a meeting with Dan, Tim, and also Gavin, who's doing lots of the work on leading the Luppet landscape recovery project for the Blackdown Hills. So, so yes, so they've been involved, and we're linking stuff up. And in terms of parish and town councils, then I think it was like Cara, who ran Dolk, sat on the local nature partnerships. Yes, you're nodding, thank you. The local nature partnership has a Wild About Devon steering group, which is all about community action for nature, and she has been involved in that throughout. So we did go and speak at one of the conferences maybe a year or so ago when the LNRS was kicked off. And also we know that there's a conference coming up in October, which is really timely because that's when we're going out for public consultation. So, so we're in discussion to get a slot at that conference, and we will be emailing out to all parish and town councils as well through them.
Yeah, I do think it's, sorry, could you? I do think it's quite important that you actually contact the individual towns and parishes, because I think you'll see, you know, I mean, I represent Exmouth, but I know Sidmouth and others do very good work too. And I think it would be good to have that direct feed in, because whereas Cara and Dalk certainly know quite a number of the things about what we do, they don't know everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Fernley, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank Sarah for coming along and being so enthusiastic about the project that she's involved in. We know that nature is in a really poor state, and this is something that we really need to get behind. Involving towns and parishes, involving all of us. I think it's a really important project. So I hope we can all support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula, very much. Councillor Olive, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm sorry to sort of march in as the Grinch slightly on this one, but we're being asked to give approval to go out to consultation, and I can't find anywhere an actual copy of the draft local nature recovery strategy for us to sign off to go out for consultation. I appreciate it's not our strategy, it's the county councils being produced and we're a supporting authority, but I can't see a link in the paper, I can't see an agenda anywhere, and while I'm sure it's fine and great, and I have a great deal of faith in Will, and you know, if he's happy with this, then fantastic, but I'm being asked to go out for consultation on something I haven't seen.
Okay, so Will, Councillor Olive has thrown you under the bus, the nature bus. What do we think we should do about that? Is it easily accessible somewhere?
I believe there was a link, but it was locked down in terms of with the cabinet paper, and there's some kind of extracts of the strategy within that. I think in terms of, I think there's an issue with going to the public consultation without the supporting authority sign off. in terms of any sensitivities in there. Me and James have been reviewing that, and there's currently a process where us as a supporting authority are having a consultation until the 19th of September to sign that off as well. So I'm sure I could go through that with Councillor Olive or other members to review that before it's going out to the public consultation.
Councillor Olive, Grinch.
Thank you, Chair. I hope that's not my new portfolio title. I just think if Cabinet is being asked to sign off a document to go for consultation, you know, if this was the local plan, there would be people trying to burn the building down if we were suggesting going out to consultation without having seen it. If this has statutory weight, which I gather it does in various circumstances, I think we as Cabinet ought to see it before we sign it off for consultation. I'm sorry if that's me being awkward, and I'll apologise to the portfolio holder, but
yeah,
that would be my
and I
take.
think it would have been helpful if Jeff was here today, Councillor Young, because this is, or Councillor, well, no, is it Councillor Jeffries?
I think in the recommendations, it's a delegate authority to myself, and I've been sent a link to a beta version. Yeah. So I've seen a good chunk of this, and then I believe the recommendation is that. So if there was anything that was, Tom's going to be the Grinch again. Hang on.
Councillor Olive.
I'm sorry, Chair, but if I may, recommendation 1 says that Cabinet agrees that the LNRS be made available for public consultation. Recommendation 2 is about making or approving amendments to the consultation materials, not to the strategy itself. And even if it had, you know, again, people would be burning this building down if we were giving authority to the portfolio holder to make edits to the local plan without consulting people.
Richard.
As I understand it, this strategy provides information and opportunities rather than it being something that dictates how things work. Does that help?
So what I suggest we do is Councillor Ledger has got a cracking solution, I imagine.
To put Councillor Olive hopefully back in his box, the recommendation is that it agrees as a supporting authority that this strategy be made available for public consultation. Not that we agree the public consultation or the document itself, it's just that it's made available.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Suck on that, Councillor Olive. Sorry, standards. Yeah. Fair enough. Yes, Councillor Loudon.
Chair, I wonder whether I take absolutely the point that Councillor Olive has made. I also take the point that Councillor Ledger's made, and I understand your desire to see it. And I'm just wondering whether, given the way the recommendations are crafted, I wonder whether if the portfolio holder were to acknowledge what he has heard you say this evening, and therefore shares it immediately tomorrow with members, presumably Cabinet or members, I'm not sure which.
Yeah, at least Cabinet, but I would suggest all members.
All members,
Yeah.
and you know, subject and for him, subject to the feedback he gets within 7 days or something, to then make a decision. And because I suspect that this is time limited, and therefore, if we then let it drift to the next meeting, you're gonna I'm looking at you. I may not have assuaged your concerns.
I mean, I take your point, John. Picking up on Councillor Ledger's gotcha. We're being asked to agree that it be made available for public consultation. Then recommendation 3 says once it's been out to consultation, it's Richard's choice to approve the final version without it coming to us at any point. That's respectfully, Chair, it's quite irregular for us to be. Melanie's clearly spotted something that's going to put me right in my place.
We're just wondering that if we add to the first one, in consultation with the portfolio holder, blah, 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 that allows Councillor Jeffries to take on board the comments, the concerns you've raised, and I'm sure he would then give a commitment to then circulate it and to take any relevant action in light of very negative feedback that he may receive.
I'm happy.
Is that in order, Mel, do we think, the way that John's suggesting this might go?
Yes, so you're proposing to amend the third one, so it's in consultation with all of Cabinet. So basically, that's absolutely acceptable, yes.
Peter's got a suggestion, yeah?
Well, would it be too much to arrange an EGM? Just come back in about a week's time?
Yes, it would. But I mean, honestly, it's not. I mean, it's not taking the mickey, but it's not the pandemic. This, to be honest. So no, I can see it. Quite often I get asked to do extraordinary meetings, but not on this one. So if we amend the wording, with thanks to Councillor Olive, and are we clear now on what we're going to be voting on?
So, Chair, what I was suggesting is at the end of recommendation 1, that available for public consultation, and it's a bit clunky, in consultation with the portfolio holder. Yeah. Is that
Richard?
you comfortable with that?
No,
Mel?
yeah. So
I'm comfortable with that.
Portfolio holder.
Well, portfolio holder for I was trying to be quick and dirty there, so shouldn't have done that. For yes, countryside environment and ecology. Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, yes.
Okay, so I think we're Councillor Ledger.
Happy to second, Chair.
And this is why the planet is burning, isn't it, really? Let's be honest. Okay, so all those in favour, please. Thank you. No, very grateful for Councillor Olive's, thoroughness in this.
Anybody against and abstaining, Chair?
Oh.
Olive didn't.
My apologies. Votes against, please. And those abstaining, 2 abstentions. Thank you very much. Understood. Very good. So for the next item, Councillor Jeffries and I are going to disappear. What separates us from the other county councillors in the room is that we are both on cabinets at Devon County, and the cabinet at Devon County will make the ultimate decision on local government reorganisation. So that's why we'll go and hand over to Councillor Loudon. Thank you.
Whilst Councillor Arnott and Councillor Jeffries are exiting, can I ask Councillor Haywood if he wouldn't mind for this item coming up and just holding my hand? Well, having seen how at least one member of cabinet behaved in the last item, I feel the need to have an enforcer next to me. Right. Okay. So here we are. So this is item 15, devolution and local government reorganisation update. Before I bring in Andy Wood, our Director of Place, to speak to the report, I want to commend Andy for his diligent and thoughtful insight in all the work that he's put in so far, and he's only part way there on local government reorganisation and devolution. And that's not just on behalf of this council, but it's also on behalf of other councils in Devon as well. What Andy and colleagues are trying to achieve is to create a well-reasoned, well-evidenced, well-researched set of proposals for the future shape of local government and its services, not just for the businesses and residents of East Devon, but also, frankly, across the whole of Devon. And as colleagues know, we have to have our submission crafted and agreed to submit to the government by the end of November, 28th from memory, so etched in my mind. So this report before you supports and amplifies the points that were given to all members in a briefing that Andy provided, I think 2 weeks ago, yesterday, from memory. This was recorded and it was circulated to members through the councillor update that went out yesterday. So if you were unable to attend, I would encourage you to watch and enjoy. In addition, last week, Andy gave similar presentation to representatives of our town and parish councils, and there were a couple of colleagues in the room who were online for that. I was very pleased to see so many representatives of towns and councils in attendance. I think it was a useful session. So I suspect that before we reach the point that we make our submission that will go to government actually public, there will be additional opportunities, I'm sure, along the way for us to further brief members and to reach out to towns and parishes as well. So the report before you has got 3 recommendations, and as the portfolio holder, I would be happy to move these from the chair later on, unless I get trampled in the rush from my colleagues, if I can get them off their screens at some point. So I will now invite Andy Wood to speak to the report. Please, Andy.
Thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to give 3 quick kind of updates, really, that are contained within the report. The first is around what we now understand around the options for local government reorganisation in Devon, which is obviously a pretty broad, pretty large geography. And there are, it's quite a complex set of circumstances in terms of the different permutations that are potentially in play. You can see in the report that one aspect of further clarity that's been forthcoming recently through the City Council is clarity on their preferred geography for an extra-unitary council and the impacts that potentially would have in terms of adjacent parishes. And that was potentially part of the missing part of understanding what that option would look like. Obviously, it's been a long-held ambition for the city to be a unitary council going forward. The second aspect of further clarity is around the timeline. As you've mentioned, Chair, it's deeply etched in my mind around the deadline for full proposals on the 28th of November. And you can see the work that's underway, including the additional support that's being commissioned to help make sure we not just meet that deadline, but do it in the best possible way that meets the government's criteria, including drawing on the results of the public surveys that have been commissioned jointly with our partners across Devon as well. But also beyond November, further clarity around the implications of local government and the associated timeline, the clarity that the Secretary of State will likely choose before the summer recess next year, next July, on the preferred option, and also the implications that also I think have a significant bearing for our budgetary setting as we move forward around a potential Section 24 notice, as it's known, which will limit the financial decision-making autonomy of this authority well before vesting day in April 2028 as well. The last part is zooming out slightly around not just focusing on the principal authority, so the lower tier of the new kind of local government regime, but also the strategic aspects and the potential for a mayoral strategic authority going forward. Anyone who saw the presentation from Tom Winters, our Economic Development Manager, will be aware that there is a significant shift in the funding landscape. If you don't have a mayor going forward, there's a real risk here that we simply don't have the ability to access strategic funding streams going forward. There is a very clear incentive to move towards that regime. A letter has been signed by all the authorities. It's definitely a unifying factor here about the enthusiasm to progress towards a peninsula. I think the wording here is important. A peninsula kind of mayoral strategic authority for Devon, Torbay and Plymouth, but potentially also leaving the door open for Cornwall as well into the future. I think a quick update as of this morning, I think the Minister has responded, saying thank you very much, and potentially opening the door, acknowledging that we're not first in the queue, given that there is the devolution priority programme. But nonetheless, really important not just to focus on the principal authorities, but also the strategic authority going forward as well as we move forward. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Oh, excuse me. Thank you, Andy. we have had in the past governments for the people. This one's a government with the carrot and the stick, I think, from what Andy was saying there about the mayoral strategic authority. Right, so can I go outside Cabinet? And it was Councillor Faithful, followed by Councillor Barlow, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've never heard about North Devon's proposal. What do we know what that's all about?
I don't know how Andy wants to play this. I'm happy to let Andy have a first crack.
Yeah, it's part of the interim plan submissions. The submission from North Devon did articulate a desire alongside supporting what's known as the 145 model for potentially there to be a more specific Northern Devon authority, which I think is a reflection of the both the kind of, if you like, the local geography, the identity, the culture, the labour market, the housing market, the fact that that's quite discrete potentially, but also the desire not to be, to make sure that the future governance means they're not dominated. I think there was a recent Devon Live article arising from an extraordinary council meeting at North Devon District Council that highlighted a concern about not being dominated by governance from Exeter as well going forward. So I think that is the essence of the proposal. I should emphasise they are still very much a partner within the 145 proposals and what's being developed through to the 28th of November deadline.
Before I bring Councillor Barlow in, thank you, Andy, just to add to that for Councillor Faithful, I think as we're going along this journey, and we've got 11 or 12 weeks left till the deadline, I think various councils are sort of jostling both internally and externally and looking at what they should and shouldn't do. And I think Andy's made the point that up the north of Devon, they do feel rather remote and left behind and ignored. And Andy and I were at a meeting this afternoon where that point was discussed and made to the meeting of all 11 councils. And I think there is an aspiration, an expectation that as we move forward, there can be, if you like, arms put around the northern part of Devon to try and give them a bit of reassurance for the future. Is that sufficient? Yes, yes. I'm looking to make sure I've got the script right there. Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Chair. Fairly simple. On the local government reorganisation survey key themes and responses, how many replies did we get? How many respondents did we have?
So we closed the survey at the weekend and we had just over 600 responses.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Oh, Councillor Dumper.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to say I hadn't picked up on the issue of North Devon's special pleadings, if you like. I was just going to offer my, such as my memory serves me, 30 years ago when they were doing the last iteration local government review, North Devon and Torridge submitted a proposal for a joint unitary. And I was quite heavily involved as a council officer in that, and indeed was tasked with putting the whole thing together and writing it and making it an integrated report. So I do remember quite a number of the issues about it. And if anybody wants to pick my brains, then please do so on that.
Thank you, Councillor Dumper. I'm sure we can note that. Councillor Collins. And I think the usual plea, Councillor Collins, the item under consideration.
Thank you. This local reorganisation, I can't see any benefits at all from it. I think it's going to be a total disaster and it's going to cost a great deal of money than what local authorities spend now. And it's going to be so remote from the people. How are people going to relate to councillors anymore? If you've got one, you're going to have one councillor for Honiton, probably, out of this scheme. And at the moment, we've got 5 district councillors and 1 county councillor. That's 6. How on earth is one councillor going to be able to relate to the electorate? No, I'm sorry, I can't see any benefits at all. Yorkshire was made into a unitary, and if you talk to former district councillors in Yorkshire, what they got now to what they had before is totally different, and they just not representing the people anymore. The democracy's gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Collins, and I think the points that you make are repeated quite often, both by the public and by other councillors here and in other parts of Devon, and I'm sure elsewhere. We are having to do the government's bidding at the moment. We have no choice in the matter. We have to sit down and work out what we think is likely to be in the best interests of residents and businesses in East Devon and across Devon. We have no choice but to put something in. But to your very point about local democracy, that is quite clearly one of the things that is under consideration by all of the 11 councils that are looking to put in their submissions. Whether we come up with the same approach, but it is something that is absolutely recognised, and it was something that came up in the briefing that we had last week for towns and parishes, because again, towns and parishes want to understand where they fit into the whole structure. So we are at the beginning of a much longer journey. But the point that you've made correctly there, I think, about the value for money of this, the government will say otherwise, but I think many people might agree with you. So, okay, I'm not going to bring you back in, if I may.
I did go to Honiton Town Council meeting on Monday.
Councillor Collins, hang on, please. I've allowed you to have your say. Just hang on a minute. Can you turn the mic off, please? Thank you. Right. I think I saw Councillor Faithful. Right, Councillor Faithful.
I was just going to ask, following on from Councillor Collins' comments, have we any idea when we'll be deciding how many councillors there will be on each? I assume it will be adopting the Devon County Council division, so how many councillors, do we know any idea when that will be?
Well, I would say none of us can make assumptions. And Andy, I'm looking to you whether this would become part of the government's, when it comes forward as part of the government's response to the submissions.
Yeah, and before that, Chair, so it will need to form part of the case for change, the full proposal. That will need to be reported to Cabinet and then Council in November. And there is ongoing work to understand the potential scenarios for how representation might look going forward within a 3 unitary model. So that will form part of that full proposal, Chair.
Thank you, Andy. And yes, it is something that is vexing every single one of the 11 councils at the moment. Right. Anybody outside Cabinet? Right. Councillor Collins, quickly, please, and that this will be the last bite of the apple.
I went to Honiton Town Council meeting on Monday, the finance meeting, and they were discussing their budget for next year. And they did discuss putting in a sum of money to be prepared for when reorganisation happens, so that they can take over services that East Devon provide. That's what they were discussing. And of course, they got no guidance, have they? They want to be prepared. What do I tell them when I go to their meeting on Monday?
Well, I think we are at the beginning of the earliest stages. Until we end up with the submissions made and we end up with the government then next year coming back with the preferred outcome, which will then be subject to some degree of public consultation, but don't ask me to give you precise details. I would expect that it starts to become clearer as we move forward. But there is always the opportunity for any town or parish to talk to this council about what their aspirations are for the future. And that within that, I give no commitments to anything other than we are always open to talking to towns and parishes. I don't know whether Andy wants to clarify that.
Yeah, just to pick up from that. So at the 30th of July Cabinet, there was a report in relation to the stewardship of public communities going forward. It is, a core piece of work. I know our colleague Mark is doing a lot of engagement with particularly town councils and parishes more generally around how that work comes forward, on the basis that the portfolio holder group would come back and report within 6 months, I think was the resolution from that Cabinet, around how, on the basis of our existing community asset transfer and other policies, that approach would move forward.
Thank you, Andy. Right, I'm going now then to move into Cabinet. And I'm looking at a lot of happy faces in front of me. Councillor Hawkins.
Thanks. I just wondered, does Plymouth's plan marry up with the 541 so you could infer indirect support?
So it's a very good question, and it was again the subject of a kind of a small debate this afternoon. There has been further guidance recently from MHCLG about how to accommodate potential boundary changes. The the guidance originally was around using existing district boundaries as the building blocks for proposals. That is still the case, but then you have to go one step beyond that and ask for specific changes to boundaries as part of those proposals, which would need to be taken forward with the Boundary Commission. As part of the full proposal submission, what we need to conclude is whether there is an accommodation, I think, if I can put it that way, with Plymouth's aspirations. You would have seen their preferred option currently is, I think, called the growth option, which includes 13 parishes, which obviously is quite a easterly expansion of the city. It's a question whether there are perhaps a lesser number than 13 that more within, I think there's a terminology around the urban fringe of Plymouth that would provide a more coherent geography. But that is an ongoing debate, and it's a question whether it would be kind of 1 plus 4 slightly minus, and 5, if that makes sense.
Understand, Councillor Hawkins? That made it perfectly clear. Excellent, excellent. Anybody else think? Councillor Hayward, I think, beat Councillor Olive. No, go on.
Thank you, Chair. I attended Exeter City Council's extraordinary meeting, and there was no opportunity for public speaking at that meeting, which disappointed me. And so I was just left to tut loudly, and I really wanted to essentially thank yourself and thank other councillors and thank Andy and other officers and councillors for the work they've done, because during that public meeting there was a comment made by a member of the ECC executive which really dismayed me, and it made out that everything we have put forward with the other partners was essentially being drafted, down the pub on the back of a fag packet, and had no merit and had no substance. And that really irritated me, because I know firsthand how much effort is being done and has been done since this first ludicrous plan was announced last year. And there has been lots of dialogue and discussion about the point that Councillor Collins raises. What's the point? If it's not going to save money and it's actually going to remove democracy, what is the point? And yet, as you say, we are dancing to the tune set in Westminster. But I just wanted to pay tribute to all councillors and all officers who are putting an inordinate amount of time in. And I can sort of understand where Exeter are coming from, because if 145 proceeds, then Exeter just becomes a town council, which perhaps for them is just too much to bear. And it might well be that Mid Devon and Tinbridge and East Devon, we just subsume the outer fringes of Exeter and leave them, whatever's within their ring road. That door swings both ways. They've gone out at very short notice and said, we want to subsume 28 parishes of East Devon. and to contact the clerks and the chairs of those councils and go, this is what we're going to do, out of the blue, and we're going to consult. Well, maybe as we progress forwards, the partners of the district councils do the opposite. I'm not saying we will, but that door swings both ways. And I just wanted to voice my dismay at the comments made in that meeting where I was unable to respond because I found them dismissive and frankly rude. So that's just my personal view, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Haywood, and yes, noted with interest what you heard. I can, though, given that we're talking privately here, confirm, having seen Andy's expense claim, there's an awful lot of beer and cigarettes he's putting in for. Councillor Olive.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to say that my folks taught me that if I didn't have anything nice to say, I shouldn't say anything at all, and then propose the recommendations. But Paul's provoked me by mentioning the Exeter proposals to annex the west side of East Devon, and as a parish councillor for one of the parish councils that's affected by that proposal, I think they're a disgrace. And they should be ashamed of themselves for the way that they've handled that entire process. But I won't say anything more, and I'm happy to propose the recommendations that are in the report as written. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Olive. Councillor Hookway, couldn't remember your name for a minute, Nick.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just want to follow on really from what Councillor Olive was saying about Exeter's proposal. I am very concerned about Exeter's proposals. It is, to my mind, nothing short of a land grab worthy of Vladimir Putin. It is clearly a wish list within the 28 parishes on East Devon. Exmouth is at the top, followed by Woodbury and Lympstone. The report clearly makes clear that Exeter thinks that it needs much needed housing and infrastructure. So clearly this is a development-based model. They are looking and cherry-picking those parts of the county that they think they can make more money out of. I am extremely concerned about their attitude towards the environment. We've heard nothing about that. I've heard distinct comments from city councillors about the River Exe, the Exe estuary, that basically they're going to get as much money as possible as they can out of those people who use the river for whatever means. I think that it is quite clear that Exeter regards itself as moving these parishes from rural parishes to an urban environment. And I think the question that we need to find out, well, before I ask the question, the other thing that concerns me, and I've mentioned this before, this will be, whether we like it or not, a exercise in saving money. There's talk about improved service delivery, there's talk about financial resilience. They will be looking towards saving money. We've already seen national press reports about the government misunderstanding exactly what financial savings it could make. It was expecting them. Now it's been told it's not going to make them. In view of the state of the nation's economy, Rachel from accounts will be looking for further savings. And I think that somebody in Exeter City is saying, right, I think we can run these parishes much more effectively, very much as Plymouth does, as Plymouth has expanded, very much as London does and has expanded. So my question to Andy and also to the City Council is, what guarantees are they going to give that the town councils and the parish councils that exist within this wish list will continue, or is there an intention, which is what I believe, to remove and abolish these parish councils and town councils to have one single unitary council within the Exeter proposal? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hookway. I'm not sure that our Director of Places is the right person to be able to answer on behalf of Exeter.
Rhetorical questions, Chair.
However, If he does have any thoughts, I'm sure he would be happy to share them.
Thank you, Chair. I think probably the key point, and thinking back to the wider briefings and the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill, is the legislative provisions that are coming forward around neighbourhood level governance and what that means. Now, I know that NALC, the National Association of Local Councils, has expressed concern that there's not enough clarity around the role of parish and town councils going forward. I think there's some guidance that the government's not expecting the creation of new parish and town councils. And then there's this question of what does neighbourhood governance mean? And that will become a duty on local government to ensure that there's effective neighbourhood governance arrangements in place. And so that is, I think, one of the key points that needs to be worked through very carefully. There was a discussion earlier around what we mean by locality and how governance arrangements for localities might be a unifying force here going forward. And picking up on the original question around Northern Devon, you know, how you can reflect the distinct local character, given Devon is a large and diverse place, how you can reflect those individual characteristics within those neighbourhood governance arrangements going forward.
Thank you, Andy. So, anybody else from within Cabinet? We have a proposer, Councillor Olive, for the 3 recommendations. Anybody wish to second? Thank you, Councillor Hayward. Right, so I think I now need to put it to the vote. So, all those in favour of the recommendations, please. I think that's unanimous. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Councillor Hayward. Before you go, Councillor Hayward, I just say, I did promise you a bag of crisps.
You did.
I didn't go to Tesco's, but those are from the meeting earlier on.
Oh,
some sandwiches. I hope it fills a... Oh no, gosh, I'm sorry. Oh no, somebody else.
That could kill me.
Oh, right. So it's good. It's a good job this is a private meeting, isn't it?
Thank you very much. Are we approaching break time? Does anybody, or is it a bit early? No, but I was just saying, no, let's crack on then. Let's crack on. In which case, thank you. Let's go to agenda item 16, the naming of East Devon's second new community. Now, is that Todd coming in on that? Lovely. Let's find as many difficulties with this as possible, Cabinet, and read the report carefully. Todd, please.
Yes, here, Chair. So this report has come to Cabinet substantively for procedural reasons, because I'm sure everybody will be fascinated to learn this. There's not actually a delegated authority in the Constitution for anybody to name anything, let alone a new town. But perhaps I think slightly coincidentally, but symbolically, I think it quite appropriately starts the journey that we in this authority will be going on over the next 6 to 8 weeks, considering a whole host of decisions surrounding the second new community, both at Cabinet here and at Strategic Planning Committee. So in that respect, please do watch this space. Coming to the substance of the report itself, I'll speak very briefly, Chair, to how we've got to the recommendation that's in front of us tonight. So over the last 6 months or so, we've been through a focused process of ideation, both internally in the team and drawing on suggestions from the 3 parish councils closest to the second new community site to produce what was a long list of suggestions for the new name, for the name of the new town. That long list we then focused down into the 4 categories that you see set out in the report, which we narrowed down in an internal shortlisting process to produce a set of what we think were 4 unique names, not to our knowledge, found elsewhere in the country, as options for the name of the second new community. We've then been out, as members will be aware, to a public vote, asking our communities to rank each of those 4 names in preference order, which has got us to the place we are today with the report that's in front of you. Malcolm, not Malcolm, thank you, Sam, has emerged as the significant preference of the public, with over half of first preference votes, making it the outright winner in the alternative vote system we'd employed to measure the result. Though, can I say, Chair, as a Liberal Democrat, I was sad to not get to run the alternative vote spreadsheet. In closing, Chair, then, can I just very briefly express thanks to colleagues in Comms who helped make this public vote happen, as well as to our colleagues from Clist-Honiton, Bishop's Clist and Farringdon parish councils for supporting us with that early process of long listing. And indeed, I believe Malcolm was one of the suggestions from Clist-Honiton in the end. To finish then, Chair, I'd just like to propose the recommendations set out in the report.
Thank you, Todd. Excellent report. I've been sort of following this process at one step remove. I think it's been incredibly well done. So thank you, all officers and members involved, including in the parishes as well. So would anybody from outside Cabinet like to make any comments on this? Or inside Cabinet? Yes, Sam, please, Councillor Hawkins.
Happy to second the name of Malcolm.
So we do not wish to in any way blight the future of this important new town of Malcolm. We're going to have to. We need help from somebody like Roy. Roy, how do you say? How do people say Honiton? How are you meant to say Honiton? Oh, isn't it? Isn't it? Don't people say Honiton?
This is, I think it's a stupid name, so this Malcolm, because we've got, that is the name of an area in Olliscombe. It's not right.
Okay, thanks, Roy.
Don't like it at all.
I was just thinking there's a way in which we could go Malcolm to really stress the ma rather than the a, but anyway. Okay, right, so Cabinet, we're being asked to vote on this. All those in favour, please. Thank you very much. All those against? Right. That's passed. So just, I think actually we probably, because it's late in the meeting, I feel a bit anxious. We've been a bit disrespectful about this. So this has been a very serious process. The new town is incredibly important in the strategic strategy of both East Devon and indeed the West Country, I'd say. I think Malcolm's lovely. It would have been the one I would have voted for because the others were a bit brandy, kind of like Newton something, it didn't, but Malcolm, it's lovely and it's got a local historical meaning. So, gentlemen, ladies of the press, report that, please. Okay, good. Right, we now move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item 17, the forward plan. Does anybody wish to make any extra recommendations on this, or can we move forward? Thank you, we move forward. And then agenda item 18, which is the big exciting thing tonight. Dan, are you teeing Liam up, or is Liam going straight in? Okay, Liam, please. Build and buy a housing investment and delivery plan for East Devon.
Thank you, Chair. Before I go into the detail, I thought it would be useful just to outline the rationale for the build and buy plan, particularly given the context of the financial pressures facing the HRA and also with local government reorganisation on the horizon. So in terms of the finances, I've explained this earlier that the way that we've approached this is that any kind of development and regeneration activity should make a positive contribution to the HRA and not detract from our ability to kind of invest in the existing stock. In relation to LGR, we've obviously asked the question, is now the right time to be building and launching this plan? Looking at it from a kind of housing needs perspective, obviously there's a huge need for affordable housing in East Devon and in the wider region. And we expect that housing delivery will continue to be a priority beyond LGR. We've also considered central government's view on housing delivery, which it appears to support alongside the LGR agenda. MHCLG have announced £39 billion worth funding to support affordable housing. They've also announced specific funding for local authorities to build council housing, so we believe the support is there at a national level. So with that said, I'm pleased to bring forward the Build and Buy plan. It's a very ambitious plan for East Devon to build 500, or build and buy 500 affordable homes over the next 5 years. I should stress that it is an aspirational target. We're setting the bar pretty high, and we felt that was important to be ambitious. The report does contain some big numbers. Just to be clear, we're not seeking budget approval today. We're simply setting out the vision and what we believe is financially viable. So in terms of the plan, as the name suggests, it's a plan to build and to buy new council housing in East Devon. The buy element will focus on Section 106 sites, so developer-led sites with an affordable housing quota. It's an area that East Devon haven't been active in previously, but there are opportunities to buy properties direct from developers. The build element will focus on our existing assets, so our garage sites and also estate regeneration opportunities where we've got low density end-of-life properties which can be redeveloped to a higher density and to a higher standard. So we've identified a number of sites and we'll talk about those in Part B. Moving on to the finances, we have undertaken quite a significant amount of work to establish whether the plan is viable in principle, and this includes putting the numbers into the business plan model that I've talked about earlier on this evening. And what that shows is that development can make a positive contribution to the HRA. Obviously, each individual scheme will be subject to a separate viability appraisal in due course. So to summarise the finances, the plan will require a very significant capital investment. The overall cost is estimated to be in the region of £100 million. That figure will include some grant funding, some right to buy receipts, commuted sums. So the level of prudential borrowing for the authority is estimated to be around about £60 million. So as I've said, we're not asking for members for that approval today. We're simply setting out a vision of what is achievable. And I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam, very much for that. Members from outside Cabinet, please. Anybody? No? Okay. In which case, anybody from inside Cabinet? Councillor Ledger, please. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chair. I think this, alongside the paper that we had earlier, it is the single largest commitment to housing that East Devon's ever made. I don't think that could be understated. So and it is an ambitious plan. To build and buy 500 properties is going to be hugely significant for years to come. We've got 2,300 people currently on our housing waiting list. So it's going to look to address that, and I just wholeheartedly support it and endorse it. So I'm happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you, Dan. And unusually, I'd like to second it and actually put some comments in for the minutes, if I may, which is to recognise the remarkable work of our housing team over the last 2 years that's accelerated during the last 18 months to a year in such an ambitious project. This is what we would love to have done when we came in as an administration, and I think COVID threw us off, but we've got on to a fantastic path here. Really proud of the achievements of the officer team in particular, so thank you, all of you, and thank you to the members who've been involved as well, including those who've been sitting on the various committees, so thank you. So I'm happy to second that. Anybody else like to speak on that? In which case, let's go to the vote. All those in favour, please. Thank you very much. I think I now throw to... no, we've got the Cranbox, haven't we? So is Francis here?
I think that's part B.
Oh, that's part B.
We're going to
That's
part
part
B.
B. That is part B. So,
Do you want me to read something?
yeah, you've got the thing on the script.
I do.
That's it.
I do
Okay,
have
over
it.
to Councillor, to the Vice Chair, please. Well, that's be the Vice Chair's decision.
So, I move the following as Vice Chair, that under Section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public, including the press, be excluded from the meeting as exempt information of the description set out on the agenda is likely to be disclosed, and on balance, the public interest is in discussing this item in private session. In other words, Part B. I so move.
You to vote on it.
So, forgive me, I've not done this before. So, can I have I've proposed it. Can I have a seconder? Yes, sorry, Councillor Haywood. All those in favour? Right, thank you very much. That's unanimous. So we now go into closed session, please. So it's just members and officers remain, and we will